guys, it's Jenny, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some tips and tricks that I used when I was first learning how to do forearm stand. Now, you can do forearm stand without having any prior experience with gymnastics or cheerleading or inversions or anything like that. I started completely from scratch. I've never done any of those things before, and I self-taught myself how to do this, and it took me a decent amount of time because I had to filter through a lot of different YouTube videos, and it all seemed really complicated at first. A lot of these videos showed people who have been doing forearm stands for like years and years, so they seemed so easy to do at the start, but I've only been doing this for about a year now, and I'm still learning and practicing, but it took me a few weeks to teach myself how to do this. So I wanted to make this video to help you guys if you were like me just a few months ago with no experience at all, having really difficult time just trying to find a little bit of stability and float in the pose, and how I sort of got from really struggling to kick up into the position to being able to press into it and hold positions for a lot longer and even try some more challenging poses in forearm stand. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what not to do when you're first trying to get into this position, and that is kicking into it, kind of doing like a donkey kick or like cartwheeling into it or something. You don't want to use a lot of force and momentum. You want to do it more controlled, or else you won't be able to find the right alignment, because the key to balance in this pose is getting your hips aligned over your shoulders, and you'll find a lot of stability and balance. And some of these exercises that I'll show you later in the video will help you find that balance, so when you're going up into the pose, you can just like click into the hips over the shoulders and you're able to better stabilize there. In these videos you can see that once I'm getting into the pose, my hips are aligning as I'm upside down, and that helps me find stability. And also in another video that I show you, my hips are actually over my shoulders because I'm going a little bit into a back bend. That's called a hollow back, and you achieve the balance with your hips going past your shoulders by pressing your chest forward and also keeping some weight from your legs over your shoulders, so you find balance that way. One of my biggest tips that really was a game changer for me is finding the right arm placements. So when your hands are up on the mat, there are a few different variations that you can have your forearms on the ground to help support you. I show you a few. I show you parallel, hands clasped, forearms flat, and in a fist with your thumbs pointed up. And my personal favorite is parallel with your arms flat. I find you have the most stability and kind of like the biggest space of support with that variation of your arm placements, but you can really play around to find something that works the best for you. A good variation to play around with is having your thumbs flat on the ground with the fist, because you can actually rest your forehead onto your thumbs, and it's actually kind of an in-between a headstand and a forearm stand, because you start with your head rested on your thumbs, so your head is supported as you go up into the pose, and then once you find the balance, you can just gently lift your head off of your thumbs, and then you're on forearm stand. So it's actually a really good in between if you're really comfortable in headstand and you want to go into forearm stand from there. So there are really three key things that you need in order to go into forearm stand, and that's strength, flexibility, and balance. And I'm going to show you guys a few exercises that I did in order to achieve the right amount of strength, flexibility, and balance for this pose. So for strength, one of the key poses to really master and get down before forearm stand is dolphin. So being comfortable in a dolphin position, being able to hold that for a long time without your shoulders fatiguing is definitely key. And you can do a few different variations of dolphin. You can walk your feet in closer, you can lift your legs up. You can do some hops coming up from dolphin. That's all to increase strength. Some other exercises to strengthen your shoulders and arms for this pose are some vinyasas, so chaturanga into upward facing dog. Diver bombs are really great. Scap push-ups, so in scap push-ups you are in a plank position, but you're really protracting and retracting your shoulders, so really working and strengthening the muscles in between your scapula. Also, Sphinx to plank is another great core exercise and shoulder strengthener. And lastly, resisted dead bugs are another great one because you're working your core and your shoulder stabilizers. If you have a resistance band between your hands and you're applying some resistance against the band as your arms are going overhead, that's a really great shoulder stabilizing exercise. There's also a few different exercises that you can do with resistance bands, and those are resistance band raises, resistance band openers, and resistance band abductions. For flexibility, you need a pretty decent amount of shoulder flexibility because your shoulders need to be going past your chest. And some of the best poses for those to increase your flexibility is downward facing dog, also shoulder flosses with a strap, both just up over your head, and also some rotations. You can also just simply clasp your hands behind your back and do a forward fold, trying to reach your hands as far away and as far close to the ground as you can. You can even add in some twists too to get in a little bit deeper. One of the best chest or heart openers is wheel pose. So that's a really great one to practice too, to get a nice stretch in your chest. And even better if you can do forearm wheel. You also need a pretty significant amount of hip flexor and hamstring flexibility in order to get your legs up and over your hips. You're gonna have to have that active range of motion in order to get your leg up over your hips when you're entering the pose. So these are a few of my favorite ways to stretch my hip flexors and hamstrings. And lastly, of course, balance is key. We're going to be upside down, so you need to feel pretty comfortable with being upside down. Especially in forearm stand, you have less support and stability than just standing in some other pose or even in headstand. So one of my biggest suggestions is to really nail down your headstands and to get really comfortable and confident with those, being comfortable upside down, moving while being upside down, and then you'll feel more ready and confident to try your forearm stands. Next, I'm going to be talking about props. Now, you don't actually need any specific props for this. You can use a wall or a chair or a bed. These are just two props that I use that really helped me. I just used 2 blocks and a yoga wheel. And in this video, I'm showing you where I'm aligning the yoga wheel and blocks on the mat. I'm just putting them at the end, and then I'm putting my foot up onto the wheel as I'm entering the forearm stand. And then, since my foot is raised up, my hips are already over my shoulders because my foot is raised, and all I have to do is just gently lift my foot off of the wheel, and then I'm in forearm stand and I'm already pretty balanced. So this is a great way to first enter into the pose and find that balance, find that sensation of hips over your shoulders. I practiced this a ton before I really found that stability and before I was able to kick up and get into forearm stand on my own. Another thing to keep in mind too is in order to get your hips over your shoulders, your foot has to be close into your body. If your foot's too far away, it's going to require a ton of more effort to get the momentum to get your hips over your shoulders, so stepping your feet in closer will really help that and make it a lot easier. From the yoga wheel, once you really master that, you can work your way closer to the mat by taking the yoga wheel away, just using 2 blocks to 1 block, to then eventually just going off of the mat itself. I also wanted to show you that you don't need any props for this. I was on the beach and I just found a rock that was a few inches tall, and it actually worked really well for a supported forearm stand. I thought that that was a really great find and a good way to show that you don't need anything specific in order to try to do this. Another thing that you can use props for, I showed this using a block and just a shoe. I actually prefer the shoe. If you put the block or shoe in your hip crease, this really targets the sensation of bringing your thigh as close to your stomach as possible, and this will really help with the float up into the forearm stand, so it doesn't require as much effort. If your leg was super far away, you want to hold your thigh in close to your midline, and that will really help you get up into the forearm stand. Next, I want to talk about falling and how to fall safely. I show you a few ways of how to fall. My favorite way, and I think the safest way, is to cartwheel out of it. So I always fall to my dominant side, and I show you this because as I'm falling, my hand is kind of twisting and my elbow comes up from underneath me. So I'm not just falling and toppling over, I'm actually supporting myself by bringing my elbow up and using my hand to push myself away from the side, so I'm not just crumbling over. Another way to fall is into a back bend, but I definitely don't recommend that because it can be kind of scary and you might like fall onto your head or something. So instead of falling backwards, try to catch yourself and fall and cartwheel over to the side. Now, once you practice a lot, you can try to do some harder poses and some more challenging poses. One challenge that you can do is just simply moving around in the forearm stand. So not just holding a static position or straight legs, but try to go into different poses like eagle legs or a straddle or split or something like that. That can challenge your balance, and it can also look pretty cool. Another technique that you can learn is a puppy press into forearm stand. So I'm just showing you a variation of how I do it. You can also practice this using some other techniques that I showed before with the blocks or the yoga wheel to get some more support into the forearm stand. I'm working on a full straddle press into forearm stand. That's still a goal of mine and something that I'm working towards, but a puppy press is a good in between going into a full straddle press. Another thing that you can also try to do is a gaze shift. So instead of looking straight down in between your forearms, moving your head so that you're looking out in between your arms instead of straight down. That's also something that I'm working on because it really challenges your balance. You also need more shoulder opening in that position as well. So this is the end of the video. I hope that these tips find you well and that it motivates you to try to do forearm stand even if you've never tried before. And I hope that if this is something that you've been working on, that you found a few new tips and tricks that might help you with your journey. It's definitely something that I'm still working on every single day and learning every day. But these are just some of the things that really helped me as I was beginning. I also wanted to show you that you can go in with no experience at all, but still in a few weeks you can come out being able to confidently hold a forearm stand. So thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that this was helpful for you guys. Bye.